What's up, guys? It's Jay, MorninAfterKill, and I'm back here on my road to 30, and this is a series that I do on my channel where each week we take 1 year of my life and talk about the memories and significant events that have come to shape the person that I am today. And right now, I am 29 motherfucking years old. By the time this series is done, I will be 30 motherfucking years old. And this is episode 11, which means in this episode, I am 11 motherfucking years old, which is actually a very good year for me. Because if you want to recap and take a look at a few of the episodes that I had before, not only was I the poor kid in school, but I also had a very embarrassing moment in kindergarten where my costume ripped during a Halloween parade, and I wasn't smart enough to have pants on underneath it. My underwear showed. First grade, I also shit myself, and a few months later, I puked all over the cafeteria during a Thanksgiving dinner reenactment of the Indians and the Pilgrims, which is a terrible situation. You do not want to be the poor kid, the kid that shit himself, and the kid that threw up and showed his underwear in kindergarten. It is a very hard thing to live down, but since I lived on the dividing line in my school between school districts, everybody else lived on the other side of town, which was a really nice area, and they went to the suburban upper class middle school. Now me, because I lived on the city side, I had to go to a new middle school, which was a little bit more middle, lower classy, kind of, early 90s, not very rich type of school, which is actually better for me because the people there that went to school with me were in the same income level of my family, and I was no longer the poor kid. I was just a normal kid who didn't have money that went to this school, and it was a very, very awesome thing. And instead of coming out of my shell like I should have, making new friends, and really developing the type of social network and this type of social skills that you need to during middle school to make it through high school, because high school gets really, really cliquey, and middle school is just the start of it, where everybody kind of just starts to break off into these groups. You have the popular kids, you have the jocks, you have the geeks. This is how it was back in the mid-90s. And instead of coming out of my shell, I actually introverted. I pulled myself in because for the first time, nobody pointed me out, nobody was laughing, and it felt good. And it felt good to be invisible for like the first time in my motherfucking life. And, I should have been a little bit more active in school, doing my classwork and everything, but just being invisible felt good. And then I met these kids in my neighborhood who actually, they went to the same school as me, but they were about 2 years older than me. They were in 8th grade when I was in 6th grade, and they took a liking to me. We started hanging out. They listened to the same type of music, because like I said, I lived in the ghetto, so there was a lot of rap going around at the time, and I do listen to metal, and a lot of people don't really listen to metal in the ghetto. Like, seriously, I'm not trying to be racist, I'm not trying to be fucked up, but there is not a lot of death metal or like heavy metal that you see inside. This is the time when, like, I guess like Pantera was big, you had Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Nirvana was coming up. This is like right around that time period, and there's a group of kids that took a liking to me, and we started hanging out. And there was this one girl, I remember her forever. Biggest fucking titties you ever fucking saw. When she walked, like the titties, literally, I swear to God, like, when you see an ass, they go bang-a, bang-a, boom-a, bang-a, bang-a, like that rhythm when the girl's walking and you see each ass cheek just kind of flump out just a little bit more, like bang-a, bang-a, boom. You know what I'm talking about. Her boobs did this, and she had a nice ass. But this is the first time in my life where I'm actually like, oh my God, I gotta get some titties. But we'll talk about that later, because I actually, try to get some titties. We try to get some titties. But this group of people is what you would call the stoner group of kids from middle school. They were the type of kids that sat around, listened to music, and just got high all day long. And when I mean high, I'm not talking about taking a little dime bag, rolling up a joint. I'm talking about literally fucking pulling out an ounce, emptying out on the table, rolling a blunt, smoking that, and while you're passing that around, you're rolling another motherfucking blunt. We got literally fucking high. And this is the first time in my life that I've ever smoked marijuana. So let's go ahead and talk about that, because this is the big significant moment in my life. I know it sounds sad. I know you guys are like, oh my God, this is like the most significant moment of his teenage years is the first time he smoked marijuana. But I tell you, I swear to God, I fell in love with Mary Jane. Mary Jane is my bitch. It's my road dog. So Anyway, we were all hanging out, and this is probably about like 2 or 3 days after I first met them, and they're like, yo man, you want to go down to the lake and hang out? And you know, in our area, like I said, it was a very, very urban area, and we had like what was considered a lake, which really was a swamp at the edge of a shit factory. It's a terrible thing. We actually went through the swamp. The shit factory is probably like maybe like 2 or 3 miles out, so like, you know, the edges of the swamp weren't any shitty like type of water. There's actually like, you know, animals down there like snakes and spiders, and you know, there's frogs. We used to catch frogs down there when we was a kid, but you know, I never mentioned that because that's not really significant. Nobody gives a fuck about catching frogs. You don't care about catching frogs. You want to hear about me smoking weed, don't you? I know you do, because I got a lot of potheads on my channel. You motherfuckers are always talking about weed on my channel. So anyway, we were hanging out. We were like, man, let's go down to the lake, and fucking they busted out a joint. And I mean, like a joint, like I know you guys see joints in movies, like little toothpick joints. No, when I say a joint, I'm talking about this bitch was like twice the size of a Newport 100, about 2 times thicker. Fucking amazing. So they were like, check this out, smell this bag. And I was like, I smelled it, and I was like, oh my god, what is that? Like, where's this been my entire life? So they rolled this motherfucker up, and we smoke it, and we're just chilling on, like, it looked like ruins. It looked like Mayan ruins back in the day. Like, even in my fucking head, it looks like Mayan ruins. But what it really was a very old, like, kind of like, very old house. It's almost like a plantation you would see in the South, but not. It's like a mini mansion that was like old, dilapidated. It hasn't been used since like the 1920s, and there's like a stone walkway going down to the little lake in the back, and it was old. It was like grown over. The rocks were all like, you know, covering it, and there's like areas of like this railing that were broken off. Really cool area, especially to get high for your first motherfucking time. So we were just sitting there, and we were smoking weed, and we were hanging out, and for the first time in my life, I just sat down and I was like, damn, man, you know, I can do this. I can do this thing called life, you know? Because up until that point, you know, I've had a lot of problems with kid in school making fun of me, not really having a lot of friends and shit like that. And, you know, I've always had things dwelling on the back of my mind because we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of food in the house, you know? We were always worried about, you know, when the rent was due, when we're gonna, you know, how much money we're gonna have for bills. And for the first time in my life that I smoked on this joint with these motherfuckers and just sat down, and I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I felt like there's no problems at that point. And that right there, something clicked in the back of my head, and I was hooked. And I know it's not possible to be physically addicted to marijuana, but at that point, it was like, you know, I was like, man, I don't want to do nothing else but this for the rest of my life. Just sit here and smoke this goddamn weed, because it just, like I said, all my problems went away, and I felt fucking great. And up until this point, we haven't really figured out that I do have a little bit of chemical imbalances in my head, and it's actually considered like social anxiety disorder or shit like that. And this fucking really kind of mellowed me out and evened me out, and I felt like a normal person for the first time ever. So it was very huge. And this right here, coupled with the fact that the earlier in the year, when I was 10 years old and we went to my first baseball game, you know, I felt the desire of how it feels to, you know, go out and work and achieve something to get what you want. And this right here puts the fuel in my fire to go out, and I get myself a paper route, and I start to, you know, really embrace my entrepreneurial self, just because I want to smoke weed every motherfucking day. So people out there that say, you know, marijuana is a very bad thing for you, the first time I smoked marijuana made me get a job so I could smoke more marijuana. So how is that a bad thing when you're 11 years old and you want to go get a job because you like the way this makes you feel? It's not bad. It's not bad. But I do want to say one thing. If you are a kid and you haven't tried marijuana yet, you know, make sure you wait till you're like 18, 19, 20 years. Let your brain fully develop before you start doing it, because I have seen some people, like my friend Matt, who, I probably shouldn't have said his name. But fuck him. Fuck it. We're gonna say Matt. He is the most burnt person you'll ever see. He's been smoking for ever. And like, he'll literally have his keys in his hand, walking around looking for his fucking keys in his house, and it pisses me off because he smoked himself fucking stupid. He really did. He's like, some people can handle it, some people don't. So that's why you gotta make sure that your brain fucking actually develops before you try this shit. But, you know, I was a kid that had a lot of problems, and this, for the first time in my life, made me feel like, you know, I could deal with this. I could deal with this on my own. So like I said, I had a group of friends now. We all listened to the same music. We were smoking weed, getting high down at the lake. We stood there for like an hour trying to grab this rope on the tree. We went down there the next day. There was no rope on the tree. There was no rope. We were literally trying to grab a branch, and there was no rope. There was no rope, and we weren't going to get this branch because this branch was like 16 feet high. But when we were high, it looked like it was actually reachable. We're like, I got this. Stretch Armstrong, motherfucker. So, yes, this is the biggest moment in my life where I realized that, you know, I have the drive and desire to go out and get money, learn how to make money, and then use that money to spend it on things that I enjoy, which at the time, you know, 11 years old, early 90s, was smoking motherfucking weed. And you know what? I am not going to regret that, because this actually sets in motion like my whole life to how I can actually learn how to not only make money, but then I take what I've learned from my paper route, because I had like 300 or 400 papers delivered every day at 11 years old, and I had a shopping cart that I used to just put the papers in, walk around, and my photographic memory helped out because I remembered every single motherfucking house, and I would be there walking around like 3 in the morning, fucking smoking a joint, fucking tossing papers, collecting my fucking money, and it really taught me a little bit of responsibility. So, you know what, becoming, you know, a pothead as a young kid was probably the best thing in my motherfucking life. However, I don't recommend it for you because, you know, I had a lot of problems. And, you know, that's how I dealt with it. So, I'm not going to make any excuses because there's nothing I can do to go back and change it. And you know what? It's actually a positive influence on my life. So, my name is Jay. MorninAfterKill. Make sure you guys rate, comment, subscribe. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you could throw a thumbs up on this video, I would highly appreciate it. This was episode 11 of my road to 30, where we go through my life and talk about the significant memories and events that's come to shape the person that I am motherfucking today. And it just happened to be this episode was weed. So, anyway, my name is Jay MorninAfterKill. Make sure you guys rate, comment, subscribe. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'm going to see you guys later.